Welcome back to Stay in Your Lane. I'm your host today, John Maley, with Sam Looker. It's nice to have Sam with us. Going to be the future face, I think, of Stay in Your Lane. We got Billy Barstow Trucking. Love to have you on, Billy. Joe Lombardo with us. Joe, welcome. Thank you for joining. A favorite
No
podcast
problem.
contributor, Joe Lombardo, many years in transportation. So let's get right to it, Billy. High fuel. This sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like I just said, the high fuel. If we knew what the outlook was on it, it'd be a lot easier to decide, what you're going to do. But right now, it's just everything's up in the air. Everybody don't have any answers. Don't seem like it seems to be a pressing issue uh, for the country, and making it tough on us.
Yeah. And how many trucks in your fleet right now, Billy?
I have 22. I have 18 running. I'm short 4 drivers. I'm having drivers issues, keeping it full lately.
So you got four of them sitting empty.
Yes.
Does that hurt you more or less with fuel being high?
You know, you think about that. You think, well, at least I ain't burning that high dollar fuel, but you still got your insurance payments and your truck payments and everything else. So I'm sure it's not. I'd rather have people in it, but it does lessen the effect with the fuel prices to where it is.
Okay. All right. Now, realistically, uh, understanding fuel's as high as it is. What was it, 540 last week?
Yeah, it's 540, 550, somewhere in there, national average.
That's almost twice what it was. Right, Billy?
Yeah. Yeah. My
So
my my fuel bill's gone up easily $30,000 to $40,000 a month.
30 to 40,000 a month.
Yep.
All right. And,
Wow.
I think the difficult thing for us to understand is, and everybody thinks the fuel surcharge just covers it. Um, I think, there's lots of pieces to that puzzle. Years ago when fuel surcharge started, the baseline was 115, 120, even some as high as 130. But maybe by 2010, 2012, everybody came to the realization the new floor on fuel was 250 or more, right?
Right.
I don't think we've ever seen it go below 250 on diesel fuel. So, it's the navigation, but really the impacts on the small fleets. You don't have big buying arrangements for fuel, right? Because you're not big enough.
I I have a a decent one, I believe. I'm with Loves, and I'm six cents over cost. So I don't know where I fall in the trucking category, but from what I understand, it's pretty good for a smaller company.
Okay.
So he's got a little bit of relief there, but it's still not enough, is it?
No,
Yeah.
no, I honestly think Reagan deregulated everything in trucking, and I was a Reagan fan, but that's one thing that hurt us, the trucking, the most. I believe. I think the best thing that could be done right now, and I'm sure there's arguing and fighting, but there should be a fuel across the board for every company. Should be a fuel regulation that they have to follow, a chart up and down, up and whatever the fuel is for that's what they have to pay the trucking companies who's paying the fuel. I don't see that in the future. I don't see a lot of stuff in the future. It seems all been going negative, but that's just a pipe dream. I wish they would just have a set blank. Everybody uses the same, and everybody has to use it.
So what you're saying is every shipper throughout all 48 states or 50 states pays the same fuel surcharge level all the time, the same scale, so that it's recovered for the carrier.
Exactly. Now that's
I
from
think
my
that's a
view.
great idea.
Just some consistency across the
I
board.
think that's a wonderful idea
Whatever
because
metric they want to use, the government sets it, is what you're saying. So it's more regulated and it's consistent. So whether you're hauling for shipper A, shipper B,
it doesn't matter.
shipper C, you're going to get the same fuel proportionally, however they decide to.
And
So,
I think it would be a little easier now than it was back in the day, back when I drove, because now majority of our freight, I do have some direct customers come through brokerage, and brokers could actually be one to implement that. And of course, they would do that with their customers. It would be another service that the brokers could do for us this is not something that we brought onto ourselves. This is something that's been brought onto us, and we have no fight. You know, if I shut down my trucks and said I'm going to stop doing the freight, somebody else will come right back in and do it cheaper. And you know, we have nothing. We don't have the ability to control anything that's going on in the trucking industry, and we are the trucking industry.
You know, I would have to say that we're all in that boat at some level. I
Sure.
mean, we're in the same position you are, but I think depending on how you're running, how you're taking care of it, we have carriers. I would say 15 years ago, everybody wanted the fuel broken out because, you know, their drivers, a lot of them were still paid percentage. And the drivers were actually getting paid the fuel surcharge in their drivers' wages as a percentage of the truck's revenue. And then, you know, we talked to our carrier base after our conversation. We talked to some, and some of them say, I don't care how it's broken out. We just want more money, right?
Well, I've been mileage for a long time, and about 3 months ago we went to percentage just because we couldn't compete with other carriers with mileage. Everybody was going percentage, and that's when all the drivers went. We had to go that way just to, you know, get decent drivers because they could control a little bit more of what they're doing, what they're making, where mileage is, you know, the deadhead and all that other stuff comes into play. Percentages is I feel like the drivers like it a lot better. Now the drivers are making more money, but I feel like the drivers are controlling their logbooks better, making sure, you know, utilizing everything to the best, so they can go get another load. Where before, if there's mileage, you know, they'd shut down halfway to the load, still with hours left, and get out in the load, and you know, and go up to the load and get unloaded and be out of hours for that day because they used half their hours that they could have used the day before to get where they're at. I do see that being a plus. Now the drivers want to get there. They want to get there, be clean. So when they get unloaded, they can go again.
Sam, what do you see? You're dealing with it on the ground level more than all of
Yeah,
us.
I think you know, the with the percentage pay, it opens up more insight to us here, understanding, you know, where your money's going and how maybe you want the rates broken out, and we can, you know, add fuel. And back to John's point, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago where the majority of the carriers just came out and said, hey, look, just put it on as one flat number. I don't want to have to look at all the lined items.
I
don't wanna
was I
have
was
to
one
do
of them.
this. Yeah,
I was one of them.
right. Because it is easier, right? It's less things you got to look at. You can just see the whole number right there.
Right.
It's there. But I do, you know, you're not the only one, Billy. There are other people like, hey, can we kind of break out some fuel? And, you know, it could be because a lot of guys are doing the percentage thing instead of per mile to the driver. So they're like, hey, I pay for the fuel regardless. You shouldn't get a chunk of that. So yeah, it is kind of going back to where we're implementing fuel surcharges with multiple carriers now because the price of fuel is so high. So, you know, back to the universal fuel surcharge thing, you know, we have one. Yeah, you know, we have one that we utilize, and it is tough for us at times too because like you have customers where it's just flat rates. There's no fuel broken out. We have customers like that as well. So, you know, you have to have those conversations, and I think that's just the nature of this industry is when there's volatility and things
Change is the constant.
You just have to communicate. We always have to communicate.
Yeah, I've found the direct customers have no problem implicating the fuel more than the brokers. All my direct customers give me fuel, and I have a chart, and I know exactly what it is. And like John and Luke and Talon all talked last week that you guys have started doing that. Now the problem is if Talon, who's our main broker, who kind of our control point between you guys and us, he does it. But if he has to get another load from somebody else, then it's a whole new process again. Some people don't want to do it, or you know, or we just keep on bringing everything through Talon, and that poor guy gets, you know, punished because he does all the work.
I don't know. I think fuel, I would like to think it's probably going to stabilize, but there's so many different factors in the market and in the industry right now. You have government policy, you got fuel costs, fluctuation
Interest rates,
in
war.
tonnage, war.
Insurance is crazy high right now.
Oh yeah.
You said something, especially in Florida. If you want Florida insurance, it's super high.
Joe, what do you see? You got more years in this than all of us.
Well, I'll give you the shipper perspective. I wanted to ask Billy, you have direct customers and you deal with brokers. I mean, the payment terms. I mean, when I was more active in the industry, we always talked about terms, pay me in 10 days, 15 days. And, a lot of shippers want to keep on stringing that out 30, 60 days. If you were to get more consistency in getting paid, let's say get paid every 10 days, I'm sure that would help.
We have our main customers out of here that we do year round. I mean, not year round, but every year we do a summer and fall, and they pay us the day we deliver. They cut a check.
Okay.
And Triple T, who one reason I've succeeded is because of Triple T, is because they pay me within. If I do the load, they process it, and I get paid every Thursday. So there's no, you guys don't hold our checks. That ain't. You and my direct customers are the only one to do that. Nobody else. They all want to pay. They say 30, and then it ends up being 45. Then all of a sudden, we lost your invoice. Can you send it to us again? And it ends up being 45, 50, 60 days sometimes. It's very hard just to go on the board and pull a load off of a broker, especially if you don't know how well they. But you get stuck in that position because they're the only one who has freight in that area. If we go on the board and you have freight, Triple T has freight, we will automatically go to you, even if it pays less, because we know we'll be taken care of and paid. So we may lose at times, but we just can't afford to be paid 45 and 50 days because our people, our truck payments, our insurance people, they don't let us pay 45, 50 days.
And you pay your drivers, weekly, I guess, right? Or
yeah, we pay our drivers weekly. They run from Saturday night midnight to Saturday night midnight. If they deliver on Sunday, then it goes on the next paycheck. If they delivers on Saturday night before midnight, it goes on that check, and we pay the following Thursday.
I'm seeing some stability. I have the feeling that we're going to get this Hormuz thing solved in a timely manner, and by August, I would say we should be in pretty good shape, even from a fuel perspective. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think we're seeing some stability overall. Barring some crazy event happening over there. I do know yesterday I saw that there were ships actually coming through the strait. They said approximately, I think, 20 million barrels a day come through there. We've got stability. And then as stability stays, I think prices will slowly come back to equilibrium, but what's the new bottom going to be?
Well, they're always sticky, right? It's not going to come off as fast as it went up. I mean, we know that.
Yeah, and it's, are we actually consuming oil that's super expensive right now?
No.
Probably not, but the price is what it is because it can be, because they have an excuse to, so.
Well, I seen where the UAB left OPEC. I think more people leaving OPEC would make it better. But it's probably above my pay grade on knowledge how all that works. But I did see.
Yeah, that was an interesting move because from my understanding, the whole reason OPEC existed was so that they could manipulate and control the amount of oil in the market, which thus controlled the price. So
exactly, we got oil. We have oil in this country. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we're part of OPEC, so we can't even sell it to our own vendors unless it's at the OPEC price. So that's what's shooting all our. I don't know why we just say, "Hey, we got our own oil."
Yeah, but UAE dropped out of OPEC, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping more people do. I think that's the answer to our oil problems is getting rid of OPEC because they're making billions and billions a day, and they get to control everything.
Well, thank you for being on with us, Billy.
All right,
as
thank
always,
you guys.
Good seeing you, Billy.
It's a pleasure talking to you. We appreciate your honesty and your candor. And until next time, stay in your lane.